Good morning, everybody. We've got another minute or two before we officially start, but welcome. Thank you for being not just on time, but even early. It's great. If you could maybe while you're waiting, feel free to rename yourselves so that we can see actually what organization or entity that you work for. That would be great. And feel free to say hi to one another. Write a little message in the chat saying who you are and what interests you, just so that we can start to create a nice sense of community here today. We'll be starting at exactly 10 o'clock Central Eastern Time. So just bear with us for another minute or so. And apologies, I'll keep repeating these messages as people enter the room. It's lovely to see some familiar faces in the participant list, different people that are involved in different projects. Again, morning all as you enter into our room. It's wonderful to have you here today. We've got another minute or so before we officially kick off. So please feel free to rename yourselves so we know where you're based or what organization you work for. And feel free to say hello in the chat. It's always nice to know who's with us today. We've got a great number of participants joining from a really nice, diverse group of countries across Europe and beyond. So very pleased that you can join us today. About another 30 seconds and then I'm going to kick off, and I will introduce myself in a moment. Apologies for not doing that yet. Sunny Devon. Very nice. Well, we've got sun here in Brussels as well. I know we probably need the rain, but it is lovely to get some nice rays of sun coming in. Okay. Do you know what? It says it's 10 o'clock, so I think that I'm going to get us started. And while I'm doing that, my other colleagues will continue to let people in the room. So good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to have you here today. I've just sort of mentioning as people enter the room, feel free to rename yourselves so that we know who you are, where you're based, and also feel free to say hello. Today, we want to welcome you to this jointly organised webinar. So it's organised by the European Covenant of Mayors, by Climate Alliance, and by Interreg Central Europe's Ready for Heat project. My name is Alison Deloise. I'm going to be co-moderating this session along with Eva Suba, who's going to introduce herself in a few moments. So you'll have to listen to me for a first little bit. I work with the Covenant of Mayors and also with Climate Alliance. So I want to give you a quick recap or a reminder of what we're going to cover today. So first of all, a little bit of welcome, agenda, housekeeping, and some feedback on the registration responses that you all completed when you were registering for this webinar. Then I'm going to present a little bit about the current EU Covenant of Mayors City Refresh campaign, which we hope that you can all be a part of and benefit from. I'm going to then pass over to Eva, who will introduce Climate Alliance and the Ready for Heat project and also the speakers. And then we've got 4 fantastic speakers from Hungary, from Germany, from Austria, and from Slovenia, who are going to present on their local actions to address extreme heat. And I have to say, I find what they're doing really inspiring and impressive. So I hope that there's an opportunity for you to learn from what they're doing. We do want to have some time to have a little bit more of a discussion rather than doing it in plenary, because we actually have a large number of people that subscribe to this webinar, over 150 of you registered, which is great. We're going to break into 2 rooms. They're going to be the same, but it's just a chance to have slightly more intimate conversation rather than being all together. And then we're going to close. So that's really sort of a very sort of simple format for today's webinar. Just some very brief housekeeping. So it is a meeting as opposed to a webinar setting in Zoom. So please do remain muted unless you're asked to speak or in a breakout room discussion. If you do forget to do that, I will have to sort of mute you just to make sure that we don't have too much sound interference. Please also feel free to post questions or comments in the chat. If you're posting a question to one of our speakers or to someone else, please indicate to whom the question is directed. Our speakers may be able to address them in their presentations or in the discussion rooms, or they may be able to discuss them actually in the chat with you. We will all be sharing our email addresses as well. So if there's actually something that you would like to follow up with later, you can do. And just to mention, this session is being recorded. That was something you all agreed to when you registered for the webinar. And we're going to make both the presentations, so all of our speakers' presentations, along with this recording available afterwards. I'll send you an email with those links. So one thing that we wanted to know before we, I guess, dived in today was what you were particularly interested in hearing about. And this was able to sort of help guide our 4 presenters a little bit in the focus of their presentations. And so here you can just see a bit of a snapshot of what you indicated was most important to you to hear about today. So the number 1 topic was community engagement processes, and you'll hear a lot about that. I think the topic of heat and health, it's absolutely central to that. So we're going to hear about that today. But the other topics that were fairly evenly of interest, funding and financing the actions, engaging with and meeting the needs of the most vulnerable, and also the topic of access to and use of data, both to inform and to monitor your actions, were considered to be of importance. So we've tried to incorporate those within the presentations, but feel free to also bring those things up in the discussion, also sharing your perspectives and experience. As I said, this is in a sense meant to be more of a conversation than just a one-way us directing information at you. The other thing we wanted to know is for those regional and local authorities joining us today, of which we have about 65 to 70, we wanted to know where you are at in your, I guess, extreme heat action planning and implementation. And it was really interesting to see such an even spread. So some of you had not started, some of you were in the process of developing the plan, others had already completed the plan and are implementing actions, and some of you are implementing actions without yet having done a plan. And so we hope today the experience of our 4 speakers can help you think a little bit about what the planning process could look like. So I'm going to stop in terms of sort of the more general part of my presentation and really want to move now to sharing a little bit about a campaign that the EU Covenant of Mayors has just launched. We launched it last month, and which is really one of the reasons why we're actually doing this webinar today with Climate Alliance and Interreg. Before I do that, I just want to mention what the Covenant of Mayors is, in case any of you are not aware. We're a commission initiative managed by DG Energy and DG Climate, and we're 15 years old this year, and we support local authorities across Europe achieve their 2050 vision of decarbonised and resilient cities who have access to affordable, secure and sustainable energy. We have about 11,000 signatories. Some of those are our speakers and some of those are in our audience today. We also cover all 27 member states. And we also have lots of what we call regional coordinators or that really support our signatories on the ground in implementing their plans. We have 3 pillars: mitigation, adaptation, and energy poverty. We try to look at those in an integrated way. But today, really, the city refresh work and the work of extreme heat fits more under the adaptation pillar. But of course, it also crosses over with the others, thinking about particularly summer energy poverty. So we have a campaign, and it's called Cities Refresh, or Cities Hit Refresh, and it was just launched last month. And really, it's focusing on the topic of extreme heat. It's becoming an increasing issue, not just now in Southern Europe, but all across Europe. It's one of the number 1 issues mentioned in our Covenant reporting as being of importance to be addressed. And so that's what this campaign is currently about. We do this campaign really to raise awareness of the issue. That's the part of the role of the Covenant of Mayors. And so we, through our social media and through our different resources, we're really trying to tell people what is extreme heat, why does it matter, and why should we all be concerned about it. So we talk about heat, and hitting refresh, meaning doing actions to cool down our cities, to restore health, to rebuild communities, to renew urban designs, and to revive local economies. And I will later, by the way, put a link into the chat to our campaign webpage where you can find lots of information about the campaign. We really try then to showcase inspiring examples of what our signatories are doing to address this. These could be holistic, very comprehensive plans and actions, or it could be individual measures. And we're seeing that there are a range of different things that are being done, and they are related to nature and things like nature-based solutions. They're to do with design, the way our cities and buildings and public spaces are structured. They're to do with governance, so the policies and the early warning systems and the regulations that help our cities become cooler. And then we talk about actions related to community, so how we're working with community, how we're raising awareness, how we're seeking behavioural change, and very much how we're also working with our most vulnerable community members to make sure that they are not left behind. In terms of how you can get involved, you see a couple of QR codes here on the page. Feel free to take images of those now, or I'll share this presentation later. But we've got a map where we've got case studies, and several of our presenters today have case studies on that map. You can also submit individual actions, and there's a QR code on the next page, which can show you, if you just want to say, here's one thing we're doing and we're proud of it, you can submit that through a very simple form, and we will showcase that on our map. We're also doing events and workshops such as today and in other forums. And we're also developing a refresh kit, which is going to contain a whole lot of curated resources on this topic. And that will be coming out sometime probably early June. So again, once I share the website, you can follow all of those things. Joining the campaign is really about, as I said, sharing that one example of an action that you're doing so that we can inspire other cities and let them know what is possible. So again, the QR code here is on this page. So again, this presentation will be made available. Here are some links to our LinkedIn, our Facebook, our different pages, and Get in Touch campaign's email address. So if you'd like to know more about the campaign and would like to get involved, please do feel free to reach out. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and Eva is going to begin sharing her screen and tell us a little bit about Climate Alliance and the Interreg Ready for Heat project. Thank you, Eva.
Hello, everyone. My name is Eva Schuba, and I'm here today to introduce you a little bit the project that is the framework for all the actions and activities and measures that you will hear about in just like 5 to 7 minutes from the municipalities. We have here today Mark Wellisher from the municipality of Worms, Gordana Kolesaric from the municipality of Maribor, Dominik Puchner from the municipality of Weiz, and Dr. Erzsébet Kovács from the municipality of Hajdúböszörmény, and they are all part of the Ready for Heat project, financed by Interreg Center. And they have, for us, 4 approaches to address extreme heat. And those are heat action plans and their implementation. So the core of this project is collaboration and learning from each other. And we have our wonderful Synergia development agency, Katja Karba, who's helping us there. But we also have supporting organizations to take care of the municipalities' work and help them in engagement work and also cooperation. In Slovenia, we have Murska Sobota Health and Development Center. In Austria, Climate Alliance Styria. In Germany, Climate Alliance US, and in Hungary, the Reflex Environmental Association. Now, how does this work and where did it start? It started 10 years ago in Worms, where the municipal adaptation strategy was passed by the city's parliament. And based on that, a heat and health action plan was developed, also adopted by the city's parliament. And this was basically the blueprint, not only the pages themselves, but also the process. And this blueprint was taken and run with, so to say, in the Ready for Heat project. But all municipalities developed something that is specific for them, for their own situation and for their own climate. And not only the climate, the data that they have been using was, of course, various, dependent on the climate conditions. You also have different kind of vulnerability groups in the municipalities. But the basis for all the work was really the data analysis and the local conditions. And of course, before the entire engagement process and the design starts, you need to know what is going to happen in the city and in the urban spaces in the upcoming years, what kind of indicators you use. This is all different from city to city. And not only that, not only the data is different, the people are, of course, different. And the heart of the development work and the design work for the heat and health action plans are the people and the stakeholders you're working with. Now, all four municipalities were doing a fantastic job in engaging them, not only in communication actions, but in the design of the plan. And I think this is the heart of this project and the heat and health action plans, where the stakeholders of the vulnerable groups are not only informed, but also engaged in the design process for the short-term, mid-term, and long-term measures as well. They also formed a sustainable network that will support the implementation of the heat and health action plans. So what makes such a plan and such measures sustainable, you can ask. Of course, there are all the indicators and all the measures. But one of the key things in this project that all municipalities voted on, the city parliaments voted on the heat and health action plans. Before that, they were run through the administration with the mayor, with the representatives, with all the departments involved and in different municipal committees. And that makes them sustainable because it embeds in the very structure of the municipality. You can see here a little graphics about on what kind of divisions and what kind of units could be part of so-called steering committee that supports the implementation of such a plan. Of course, depending on the city, not all of these units and divisions may be in place in your city, but you can see a kind of comprehensive picture of what areas are important to be involved and why. And I'm not going to deep dive in the different kind of measures because I think it's really the place for the municipalities to share that these are just examples of what we mean under short-term, mid-term, and long-term measures. We will hear on some of them during this presentation. Here's a little taste of what has been done. You can see, for example, a communication campaign for short-term measures. You can see stakeholder engagement in Maribor for midterm measures, but of course, the long-term measures that change the face and the feel of the city are very key to implementation. And with that, if you want to read the heat and health action plans, you can do that on our website. You will get this presentation as well, so you don't have to worry if you don't catch the QR code here. But I really encourage you to check at least the English translations because they really give a good insight into what is possible. And with that, I'm going to introduce Marco Elischer, who is the Climate Adaptation Manager of the Municipality of Weiz, and give the word to him to bring us to the journey of network building and stakeholder engagement.
Thanks a lot, Eva. I'm very happy to give you a short glance of WARMS today. And as it was already said, we started already a while ago. And so what I will show you now is not that much this process of adopting the strategy, but how we now try to engage stakeholders outside of the city. And with that, we can come to the next page. Sorry for bringing you this very small scale, complex chart at the beginning. But what you'll see here is kind of the approach we have on how we try to manage our network. And of course, there is a top-down aspect there with an administrative steering committee, which is working with the mayor, with, for instance, the disaster risk people and all these people that work with vulnerable groups in our city administration. This is then organized by the network management, so by us, the climate adaptation managers. But then we mainly try, and kind of this I want to show you to give you an option how a model can look like for such a network, but also, of course, with its flaws. So we try to organize then a network where different members organize themselves in subgroups. So for instance, kindergartens and young people are put together, and outside working people are put together. For instance, outside working people, I mean vintners, but also people working in gardens. And then, of course, senior citizens, persons in need of care, and sick, ill persons. And they, that's our idea, and that's how it works currently. Of course, with some push by us, they meet in subgroups and can exchange about implementation measures and what they do. But maybe how do we get them on board? And there I want to show you some benefits. And I would go to the next slide. So we try to actually define benefits for each of these stakeholder groups that we want to get in. And of course, if I talk about them, I don't mean necessarily to get the vulnerable group on board, but the people working with them, so professionals that are there, which could, of course, be criticized, since it would be also nice to really be more engaged with the groups themselves. But what we do is a multiplier-focused approach, so we work with the people working with them. So for instance, for senior citizen homes, we try to support them in grant application for their climate adaptation investments. But also we have a university course that's guest here in Worms, and they help them in heat adaptation plan development. For the children, there are participatory workshops that first try to make the people feel seen and enable then the development of educational material. For them, out of that, then there is a summer campaign developed for kindergartens and advanced trainings for these professionals working with in early childcare. And in this logic, we have, of course, offers for all these different groups, and mainly we really try to grab them by giving them material. You see that with also Witness getting ideas for EU grants by giving them a material gain or an option, even though WOMS is really out of money. So we mainly try to give them options outside of what we do. But of course, we also have blind spots. So for instance, so far for people in mass accommodations, for instance, refugees, there is not a very good engagement strategy for this area. So there I'm happy to hear your ideas in the groups. Next slide. We then formalize this. So they come on board and we have a chart and a cooperation agreement. And this chart, I want to shortly show you the content. So there we try to make a formal agreement and help the people to agree to some basic ideas. For instance, what are the roles? So that our role at the network management is to organize some office, but that their responsibility or what they say when they become part of the heat network is, oh, we really want to engage into this topic, and we try to have a plan with short-term but also more long-term measures. There are some agreements on the information flow and warning systems, how they support each other, and that we constructively share knowledge with each other, and that we all agree that it's not only about heat adaptation, but of course there is a need for comprehensive climate adaptation, where also climate mitigation is part of. So that's then kind of a collective vision we try to give this network, and of course then we hope that this also can carry it after this project, and after we maybe can, when we maybe can invest a bit less time than we do now. Maybe I want to show you one communication material that we have on the next slide, where, sorry, people for German, but where you can see how we then actually approach people. So what's written there is 5 good reasons for the heat adaptation network in Worms. And on the slide that you see on your left or on the right, it's there is a small test, so they can decide, oh, do you have enough drinks? Can you change the times for your shifts? And you can always say yes and no. And maybe with these icons, you already get a grasp. And then we try to give like some good reasons. You can find exchange partners as 1, or 2, learn good practice, or then 4, use chances for grant applications. So that's then kind of our first foot in the door strategy to get people engaged into our more in-depth office, which then of course the idea is to start to bring them into this moment of implementing measures, because as a city we only have a very restricted realm of city planning where we can do things. So on the next slide, we then of course try to we help them, or try to help them with these different dimensions. So to implement soft measures in organization and processes, and that's often where it starts, but also then to give ideas about outdoor green area design and interior and technical equipment, with us more these middle and long-term measures. And lastly, of course, then through this multiplier approach to then address also clients of these different institutions or social organizations. I think there's one last slide, and I'm out of time. So maybe that as one last example for care facilities, if you now change how you look at it from an organization perspective, what they get instead of looking from us as a city. So we mainly try to get them by offering them help to apply for a funding program by the federal body, by the German ministry, and we try to facilitate the grant writing by them. For instance, we paid 1 hour consultation with a climate adaptation expert, beside, of course, of us, that is there to help them. And then there is this cooperation with the Frankfurt University of Applied Science, where they get some insights, and where they are supposed to already get some material that they can use for these grant applications to show, oh, we are already really into the topic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marco. You will have the chance to ask questions in the breakout session. So if you don't want to forget it, make a note for yourself. We continue now and move a bit south from Germany and go direction the sea. On the way to the sea, we stop in Maribor in Slovenia. And I invite Gordana Kolesaric from the municipality of Maribor. She's working at the project and investment office of the municipality, and will show us the wonderful work they have been doing. Gordana, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm working for the municipality of Maribor, which is the 2nd largest town in Slovenia. Next slide, please. We prepared in the framework of Ready for Heat project the strategy and heat action plan, which was adopted by the City Council this January. Except of heat adapted building renovation, insulation, ventilation, all those infrastructure measures, we focused in the first place now on raising public awareness, education, and greening the city. Here are just some measures which are part of the strategy. Next slide, please. Climate Alliance prepared for Maribor the heat map. so we could present to the decision makers, to the politics in mayor's office, these heat islands in Maribor, and also the vulnerable infrastructure which are situated or located in heat islands, which are hospitals, social care institutions, kindergartens, schools, and so on. We started with meetings with municipal departments, divisions, first to check their interest, and then to help us identify the stakeholders. Next slide, please. So the most important work was done by networking with stakeholders. Once we had the divisions, the social care division, education division, healthcare division, and also urban planning division on board in our steering committee, they helped us to identify all those stakeholders outside the municipality with whom we started to work. Those are mainly associations of pensioners, associations of people with chronic diseases, associations of disabled people, and we started to cooperate with them in workshops where we presented the problem of climate change, of the issue of heat islands, and what are their measures they would propose, and also what we propose. So we identified there was a need for raising awareness among all those vulnerable groups, and we could prepare leaflets, posters in healthcare centers. By the way, we had also meetings with the healthcare center in Maribor. They presented the issue that 20% more people are visiting the healthcare center because of heat issues in summer. We also prepared a campaign for kindergarten or education for kindergartens, teachers in kindergartens, for schools, and also campaigns for outdoor workers in public companies. Also, urban planning division was very important to introduce the importance of cooling the city by greening infrastructure, to plan enough green, and also to take care of all the green infrastructure. Next slide, please. So after the strategy was adopted, again we started to communicate the measures at the city administration, where employees learned about all the measures, also about the list of urban tree species for the future, which was a part of the strategy. We started to again to contact the associations of pensioners. They organized the coordinators. They have special coordinators who are working with elderly people at home. They're visiting them. So they're our main contact to people, elderly people living at home alone and who are very difficult to reach. And also daily center where elderly people meet every day or in certain activities. We started to contact all those vulnerable groups, all those associations which are dealing with vulnerable groups, and also with urban planners, architects, investment planners, to focus also on the list of urban tree species for the future. Next slide, please. Just a few words about this list. It is a list of recommended tree species resilient for climate change. because Maribor is facing more and more in summer more heat waves and less rain. So we need to plant more resilient trees. And also there are guidelines for the initial maintenance of young trees as well as of mature trees, because we have to maintain the mature trees, not just to cut them down when new infrastructure is planned, new squares or streets are planned, because those are the mature trees are really those who give us enough shade, and we need young trees need 20 to 50 years to grow and to give the shade and cooling which is needed in the cities. Next slide, please. And there we made in two kindergartens we installed 2 pergolas and planted kiwi seedlings and white Isabella grape to grow and to give shade at a kindergarten playground for children, to enable them to play in the summer also outside with shading and cooling their playground. This is shortly what we have done in this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gordana. The list of trees is part of the Heat and Health Action Plan of Maribor. And if you want to learn more about how it works, you can contact Gordana later on. You can see her contact here, but you will get the presentation as well. Thank you very much. And now we move on to Austria, to Weiz, where Dominik Puchner from the city of Weiz will introduce us how they went about the Heat and Health Action Plan. Dominik, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Eva. Good morning from my side. My name is Dominik from the city of Weiz. We are quite a small industrial city with only 12,000 inhabitants. And I will show today our journey to how we became part of the Ready for Heat project and how we go about to dealing with the heat problems. So around 2021, we noticed that also in our city, heat became more of a problem. So the first thing we did, we looked up which data was already published for our area. Of course, being such a small city, we didn't really have much data just for our city, but the regional data from the regional government was pretty good. So we saw that indeed we have a little bit of a heat problem. So the next thing we did was we started to first gather ideas for what we could do. And around this time, we were somewhat lucky because in 2022, we had the opportunity for a funded service that was dealing with mapping city areas. So we applied for the funding, and then we were able to do inner city mapping with drones. And from this data, a regional company then developed, as you see also here, a heat map of our inner city. And there we began to see that especially around our main square and in the inner city, we had the development of heat islands. So yeah, next slide, please. So then we decided that we, of course, wanted to do something about it. And at first, again, we started looking at maybe where funding was available. And at that time, we again got lucky a little bit, because at this time, there were quite a lot of funding programs that were funding greening in urban areas. So we started with a few pilot projects and started with greening for buildings, with so-called mobile greens, and also we decided we wanted to try and green the train tracks because we have an inner city train line. And then again, on the drone footage and the heat cameras, we actually saw that the temperature reduction was quite significant wherever we started to green. Next slide, please. So then in 2023, we had the opportunity to join the Ready for Heat project. And for us, this really was the perfect timing because up to this point, we only had those ad hoc measures and nothing really was organized. So we took this as a chance to really also try and engage the groups that really need protection from the heat. And so we developed the heat action plan. We adopted it last year in December. And how we got to the heat action plan, I will discuss on the next slide, please. Yeah, so our goal for the heat action plan first was, of course, to gather all available data that was available, and then to develop the measures. We engaged in 9 stakeholder workshops with different vulnerable groups. And in the workshops, we saw that some of the groups were already well established for dealing with the heat, especially those in institutions or the institutions themselves, but also that the different groups had really different goals or different things they needed in order to deal with the heat problems. Then we also decided to structure our plan in short, medium, and long-term measures. For us, this means our short-term measures are more in the direction of communication and information. But we also saw that it is important for the different vulnerable groups to have individual information really specifically for their group. And on medium-term measures, we focused more on measures that are easier to implement and also are budget-wise not that expensive. And of course, the long-term measures then deal with the urban planning and also with infrastructure in the city. And one last thing that we also implemented is a steering group and also a long-term monitoring. So we plan to monitor the plan every about 2 years. So we also have a good understanding of where we need adjustment in the future. Next slide, please. So for the development of the measures for the most vulnerable group, we also relied on data that was developed in the Ready for Heat project by Climate Alliance. As Eva previously told us, we had our areas where we knew that there was high heat stress. And then we also had our own data from our city for the demographics. So we knew where the most vulnerable groups were living. In this case, we took the data from elderly people that are aged between 65 and 85. And so we saw we had a few hotspots, so to say, where we needed or we knew we could implement measures. So we developed out of the project then a pilot action approach also within the 9 workshops for one elderly home. So next slide, please. Yeah, and the goal here was to provide them with a cooled area in their main dining room for the residents, but also for the staff, because this was also something that was communicated multiple times during the stakeholder workshops, that not only the residents, but also the staff who have to care about them really are affected by the heat in the summer. And so we decided we wanted to help them out and create or give them a cooling unit for their dining room that is also supported by a photovoltaic system so that they have a space to cool down in the summer. And we also want to see that or if one room is enough for cooling off, or if further cooling units have to be installed. So thank you for your attention. That was it from my side.
Thank you very much, Dominic. It's wonderful to see the installed solar panel and the cooling system. And before we move on to questions in breakout sessions, let me give the word to Dr. Erzsébet Kovács from the municipality of Hajdúböszörmény in Hungary, who will talk about their stakeholder and citizen engagement.
Thank you, Eva. I'm Erzsébet from Hungary, and I would like to introduce you the stakeholder and citizen engagement in Hajdúböszörmény. The first slide, climate trends in Hajdú-Bihar County. Climate models indicate that in the future, average temperatures in our country will rise more than the national average, because this is a lowland with no mountains, no rivers, and no large forests. As a continuation of the trends seen in the past, the number of heat days is expected to increase by up to 90% in some areas of the county by 2050. The Ready for Heat project has given the municipality a great opportunity to start preparing. Next slide. The main project activities in Hajdúböszörmény, development of the local heat strategy and action plan with public involvement in workshops and forums, finding the right measures tailored to the city, to Hajdúböszörmény, pilot action, creating cooling green islands in the city, trainings for stakeholders working with the vulnerable groups, awareness raising activities, communications activities, and networking, national and international. The next slide. This is the project object. The next slide. Pilot action in Hajdúböszörmény. In 2024, the municipality created 47 green islands in 23 locations across the city, in public spaces, for example, on the playgrounds and at the bus stops, and in institutional courtyards, for example, schools and kindergartens and elderly homes courtyards. Each island consists of a pergola and connecting benches surrounded by creepers, trees, and perennials. These green blocks provide cooling shade and improve the microclimate of the area through evaporation on the plants. Stakeholders were involved in the location selection process through workshops. The next slide. Stakeholder involvement. We mapped the potential local stakeholders from municipal and other institutions, for example, religious institutions, approached them directly and invited them to cooperate. They have been very interested from the start. Everyone experiences the problem of heat both at work and in their private lives. Everyone actively participated in the workshops and appreciated the opportunity to think together. The next slide. There were 8 workshops for the 4 target groups, such as pregnant mothers and their babies, elderly people, chronically ill people, and outdoor workers. And there was a final event to share the results. The workshops were led by a professional facilitator, used professional tools such as SWOT and problem tree analysis, exploring heat-related problems, collecting needs and ideas of participants, and we tried to figure out together what to include in the strategy and action plan. In addition, the problems and the solution identify the possible locations of green islands. The next slide, please. Consultation phase. The draft strategy and action plan was available online, the city website, and on the Interreg Central Europe project website, and physically in the public library, in the municipality, and Zöld Kör or Green Circle NGO office. The draft was presented at a local public forum to stakeholders and citizens, and it has been sent to the workshop participants and to local institutions working with the target groups. Feedback was evaluated and included in the final document where possible, and the final document is underlined because you can find the link there and you can see the documents. The next slide, please. Advanced trainings and awareness raising. We had advanced trainings for staff from municipal institutions working with the target groups to prepare them for the heat-stressed periods. In addition to online platforms, we raised awareness of heat-related issues at various local festivals, events, and schools. And the most useful things were basic information and the impact of heat on mortality. The next slide, please. Lessons learned. What worked? Direct approach of stakeholders. Direct is important. For example, telephone, email, or personal meeting. Using local personal and working contacts to reach stakeholders, involving a strong local NGO in the implementation, establish network of contacts, a good working relationship with the municipality, and professional experience. In Hajdúböszörmény, the Zöld Kör or Green Circle NGO was our partner, involving facilitator in workshops, raising awareness in outdoor events, and involvement of local micro communities, for example, seniors club. What didn't work? Health workers, doctors were the most difficult to engage because they have no time. They are very busy, and we were successful in involving elderly care workers and nurses. The next slide, please, and the last one. Now we are preparing for a period of intense communication to organize awareness-raising lecture on nature-based solutions for stakeholders and citizens, to implement short-term measures, and to explore financial possibilities for long-term measures. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Erzsébet, and thank you to everyone here around the virtual table, so to say. The work continues, and you will now have the chance to ask your questions in breakout sessions.
Yeah, so I'm going to very quickly move you all into breakouts. The breakouts are really a chance to follow up with questions you've got, but also share your experiences. We'll have about 20 minutes. It's never long enough, but it's just a chance to go a little deeper, because obviously our presenters were asked to present a lot of information in a short amount of time. So I'm going to send you away, bring you back for a very quick, then close at the end, and hopefully we'll end on close to time. So give me one moment while I send you away. Okay, so I think everyone's back now. Thank you for remaining with us. I have no idea whether that was enough time, too much time, insufficient, but I hope at a minimum you made some connections with some new people and got some contact details. We've got 2 minutes before we finish, so I just want to very quickly ask Katja, was there anything in particular that you wanted to mention from that discussion?
Yes, maybe about the financing or funding opportunities. We found out that there are some EU program programs like LIFE program, then also recovery funds, and also private companies that are supporting like small scale solutions in the cities. So this was interesting to know. Then it was also emphasized that it's good to sensibilize people that are working on the strategies and also implement the strategies. And yeah, we said that in the frame of the Ready for Heat, we are about to train the key actors working with the vulnerable groups. So we are about to do this. And also it was also mentioned that the strategy Heat Action Plan actually should be a living document. And yes, we found out that it's a constant engaging of the stakeholders and also the people working on different city departments, which has to be engaged constantly and also communicate with them constantly. Yeah, this was very briefly.
Thank you. And Katja,
yeah.
I apologize. I think I forgot to introduce you before as my rush to get people to breakout rooms. So Katja Karba
Problem.
is with the development agency Synergia, who's actually the project lead for the Interreg project. So in the last 30 odd seconds, Eva, anything quickly that you wanted to mention before I wrap up?
Two things for engaging stakeholders, starting small and starting from the ground. This is was emphasized by both Hajdúböszörmény and Worms. So this is how they started, and that's something like a good lesson to learn instead of big scale. And another thing, maybe only for Germany, Marco shared a recently learned fact that you can get data from a regional level as well, if you want to start with identifying heat hotspots.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much to both our facilitators. So we're out of time. I like to respect time, so I don't want to keep you much longer. I would like to thank our speakers very much. Asking them to share years of work in 7 minutes was a really tough task, and they all stuck to time incredibly. So thank you. Please consider this the start of a conversation. Should you want to learn more, feel free to reach out to them, to ourselves at the Covenant, to ourselves at Climate Alliance, Interreg. We're all available to support. I would like to thank obviously Eva and Katja for helping to moderate, and obviously the organizations, the Covenant of Mayors, Climate Alliance, Interreg. With that, I close now. I will be sending the recording and the presentation once we've got them uploaded onto our sites. So expect an email from me. And thank you so much. Keep fighting the good fight on addressing extreme heat and other issues, and very much looking forward to seeing you again at a next event. Thank you.